Comic-Cons and conventions are a great place for nerds, incels, and furries to geek out and waste money on overpriced shit. But they're still a blast anyways, and thankfully there's even conventions just for us horror fans, as horror conventions are practically everywhere around the world. Hell, there's probably one just by your local Walmart. But on the surface, horror conventions may come off as intimidating to newbies, and I'm not just talking about guys in mankinis wearing a Michael Myers mask. Horror conventions can be crowded, expensive, and difficult to navigate your way around, but it's pretty easy to get used to understanding the basics. I've been attending horror conventions for about a few years now, and I'd already consider myself an expert. So if you're planning on attending your first horror convention soon and you happen to stumble across this video, then you've come to the right place, because today we're going over 13 important tips and tricks to surviving your first horror convention. I'll guide you on how to prepare for the show, not embarrass yourself in front of your idols, and a few other things. So without further ado, let's begin. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video, and if you do all of that, then you are officially groovy. Alright, tip number 1. Buy a weekend pass. Conventions usually last about 3 days from Friday to Sunday, and it's definitely advised to try to go all 3 days for a number of reasons, one of which being it's usually a great deal. Conventions will usually offer single day tickets for each day, as well as a weekend pass that gets you in for all 3 days. And these are the best value for sure, as you're going to be saving a lot of money by doing so. For example, here's the ticket prices for Creep IE Aftermath. It's $37 for Friday, $50 for Saturday, and $43 for Sunday. Altogether, that's about $130 if you were to buy each individual ticket. A weekend pass, on the other hand, which gets you the exact same perks, is only $71 or about $24 per day. You're spending way less money and still get to attend all 3 days. Even if you only plan on going for 2 of the 3 days, it's still most likely going to be the cheaper option. And the other reason to get a weekend pass is that you're more likely going to get everything done that you want to do. If there's a big celebrity you want to meet and you're only there for 1 day and don't end up meeting them, you're shit out of luck. But if you go all 3 days, then the probability of meeting them is a lot higher. One more thing to note is that some conventions also offer VIP passes, which are weekend passes with extra perks. These often include early access, skip the line passes, special edition pins, stuff like that. Personally, I don't bother getting these since I'm usually able to accomplish everything I want to do with a normal weekend pass, but hey, if you're rich and impatient, then have at it, I guess. Tip number 2, buy a professional photo op. Easily the biggest draw for many horror conventions are the celebrities. Everyone wants the chance to meet their idols and get stuff autographed, but it can be daunting to do. If you think it's not worth waiting 4 or 5 hours in line for them to scribble on your poster or take an awkward selfie on your phone, do not fear, as there is a solid alternative to this: the professional photo op. A photo op is the opportunity for fans to have a brief encounter with a celebrity and take a much higher quality photo with them with the professional photographer. While these interactions only last about a few seconds, photo ops are great, as they will pretty much guarantee you get to meet the celebrity as long as you purchase it. Speaking of which, you can purchase photo ops ahead of time. Just be sure to act fast, as they can sell out quickly. What's also great about photo ops is that they offer exclusive chances to take photos with certain celebrities. In fact, some of them will only take photos via photo ops. Examples I've seen over the years include Bruce Campbell, Robert Englund, Corey Taylor, Elvira, and a lot of others. You can also do group reunion photos as well as in-costume photo ops, where a celebrity will dress up as their character from a movie, both of which are completely exclusive to professional photo ops. A couple other things to point out. 1, don't try to get an autograph from the celebrity, because you will be turned down if you attempt that. And 2, be respectful of the celebrity's boundaries. If they don't want to hug you or put their arm around you, just be mindful of that. You don't have to get a photo op with celebrities, but if you really want to try and meet them, then they are your safest bet. Tip number 3, bring cash. This one is especially important if you're trying to meet celebrities, as about 95% of them are cash only. But it can also come in handy if you have some spare cash and maybe want to spend it on merch or stuff at the vendors. Plus, it can be really annoying when you're trying to use a credit card and the transaction fails. But if you have cash on you, then you don't have to worry about that at all. If you run out of cash while at the show, you can try going over to the ATM. But you know who else is going to be going over to the ATMs? Literally fucking everybody. If you're not the first one in line for the ATM at a convention, then you're pretty much screwed. ATMs have the tendency to run out super quickly. There was a convention I went to in which every ATM in the building was out of service, and the closest one that was working was a few blocks down the street. So just make sure you bring enough cash for the convention. And hey, this actually acts as a nice transition to our next tip. Tip number 4, plan out a budget. Like I've said before, conventions are expensive as fuck, so definitely try to plan out a budget budget that's reasonable to your liking, but will also allow you to get as much done as you want to. A good budget I would recommend for first timers would be around $200 to $400, whether that's for attending one day or the entire weekend. With that budget, you're usually able to get a few autographs and some cool merch from the vendors, but if you're a Nepo baby, you can always increase the budget to your liking as well. There are people who attend conventions that will happily spend thousands of dollars on an ultra rare horror prop or a dozen autographs from one celebrity that they will then sell on eBay for even more money. Some conventions will actually show celebrities' autograph prices on their websites ahead of time, which will definitely make things easier when it comes to planning out a budget. But just note that not every show does this, so one thing I can recommend is try to guess what a celebrity's autograph or photo price is, and plan on bringing around $20 to $30 more than what you think it is. Because that way, if they're actually higher than you thought, you don't have to worry about being short of what they're charging. Another thing you can do is go onto the photo op checkout and see what the celebrities are charging, as oftentimes those are usually about $20 to $30 more than what they charge for autographs at their booths. So definitely plan out a decent budget because you're probably going to be spending a pretty penny at a convention. Alright, once the convention finally rolls around, it's time to actually get there. And easily one of the biggest recommendations I have is tip number 5, get there early. This is easily one of the most beneficial things to do because the earlier you start lining up for a convention, it'll be a lot easier to accomplish things you want to get done. Getting there early is great because it means you'll likely be one of the first people let into the show, and you'll have a huge advance over 90% or more of the attendees. You're more likely to be the first one in line to meet a celebrity or get a front row seat for a Q&A panel. Even if you're not trying to do any of those, arriving early is still going to help a lot, especially when it comes to the parking situation. If you're attending a more popular horror convention, then a lot of people are going to be attending that show too, which means nearby parking lots are going to fill up. So the sooner you show up, the more guaranteed you are to have a good parking spot, and you won't have to spend 20 minutes driving around to park your car. Whenever I go to a horror convention, I like to get there at least 2 to 3 hours before the doors open because I feel more confident about accomplishing all the stuff I want to do. Yes, it can be tedious to wait that long just sitting around waiting to be let in, but as long as you have the essentials like water and comfortable shoes, then the wait will move faster before you can even say banana terracotta pie. But hey, if you're a VIP pass holder, then you most likely won't have to worry about this, as you'll get let into the convention an hour early before the general attendees, you privileged bastards. Now that you've officially made it inside the convention, it's time to talk about tip number 6, prioritize meeting your top celebrities. Alright, you're all ready to meet your favorite actor or director or musician or whatever. But guess what? About 400 other people want to meet that person too. So how are you going to be able to meet them? The best advice I would give for this is as soon as you walk through the convention doors, bolt your way over to the celebrities line like you're a goddamn peregrine falcon. The sooner you get to the line, the more likely you'll be towards the front. If you show up to their line as soon as you can and it's already long as hell, you can either wait it out and maybe risk spending your entire day at the convention meeting only that one celebrity, or just say forget it and move on. It is definitely not a good idea to wait it out a few minutes and then head over to their line, because you may decide to show up 5 to 10 minutes later instead, only to learn that their line is permanently capped for the rest of the day. Prioritizing certain celebrities can also be good when it comes to budgeting. Say you want to meet 3 celebrities. First, rank those celebrities from who you want to meet the most to who you want to meet the least. Then go from there and meet as much as you can until your budget runs out. But maybe you only care about the ones you think are worth spending the money on. If that's the main approach for you, then there's 2 main criteria you should keep in mind. 1, how relevant are they as of now? And 2, how much they've impacted you as a person. Say you want to meet 2 different celebrities. One of them is a C or D-list actor who hasn't gotten any work in decades and you only know them for 1 movie, and the other one is your favorite music artist and they're still going on tour and writing new music, and they're both charging $60 for an autograph. Who are you going to want to spend the $60 on? Obviously, the second option. Personal preference definitely plays an important factor in determining who you want to meet, so choose wisely. If there's a more popular celebrity you are trying to meet, then arrive there as early as possible and be prepared to spend a good amount of money on that person. If they're not as popular but you want to meet them the most, then definitely be sure to meet them since their lines won't be as long and they might also be cheaper. This isn't always guaranteed, but effective strategies like this will come in handy for meeting celebrities at conventions. On the subject of celebrities, tip number 7, do not make it awkward. You may be shocked to learn this, but celebrities are also human beings as well, and they can react negatively if you pull some stupid shit in front of them. So always try to be respectful whenever you encounter them, whether that's at at their table or even at a Q&A panel. Please, for the love of God, avoid asking them super personal questions like, what's your take on this political thing going on right now? Or what kind of deodorant do you use? Stuff like that is awkward, it's embarrassing, and it can make them feel very uncomfortable. Asking James and Chelsea from Dead Meat on when they're going to have a kid is fucking weird. Don't do that shit, it's none of your business. And yes, that actually did happen. I understand it can be nerve-wracking when you meet a celebrity for the first time, but when you finally get the chance to talk to them, just treat it as if you're talking to a close friend or your neighbor or something. If you do it like that, the nerves will slowly start to dissipate and it'll be smooth sailing from there. Also, always be complimentary of their work. If you don't like something they were a part of, just be respectful about it, or even better, just keep your mouth shut. You always want to leave a good impression on them. One thing I've seen fans do is give celebrities gifts, and that's totally an okay thing to do. It'll make the celebrity feel even more appreciative of the fan, and then everyone can be happy. So just make sure to be mindful when you're talking to these people because you don't want to ruin the moment. Tip number 8, don't be afraid to bring more than one item. This one is especially handy when it comes to the outrageous autograph prices, which I actually made a whole separate video about, and you should definitely go check that out. But in that, I mentioned how a good chunk of celebrities nowadays will have different prices depending on what item you get signed, and bringing 2 different items would be ideal because it's likely that one item will cost you more than the other. For example, let's say you bring 2 items to get signed, a poster and a Funko Pop, and you only have a budget of about $100. You walk up to the celebrity and see that they're charging $80 for posters and $120 for Funko Pops. If you specifically want the Funko Pop sign, then you're out of luck because that's $20 over your budget. But if you have a backup item like a poster, then you can afford that since it's within your budget range. But hey, if you feel like you can afford both, then go ahead and kill 2 birds with one stone. Now, if you only want to bring one item to get signed, then your best bet is to bring a small flat print like an 8x10 photo or a mini poster, as those are the cheapest items to get signed. Celebrities do also have 8x10s and occasionally other things at their table to get signed, but if you aren't satisfied with anything they're selling, that's another reason to bring your own items. That way you'll be able to plan ahead of what you want to get signed. And lastly, make sure to bring something to carry your items in like a tote bag or a backpack. If you're carrying something like a large poster, then poster tubes usually come in handy as well. You can find some pretty good ones on Amazon. Something else you should also do is tip number 9, bring paint pens. Why specifically paint pens and not say a Sharpie? Because paint pens in particular make autographs stand out the most on your item. Paint pens, as their names imply, are oil paint based, which are way more efficient to use for autographs instead of Sharpies, because on the contrary, Sharpies are ink based and semi-transparent. This means that you only get to see them on light colored backgrounds, compared to paint pens which contrast well with all colors. And the other big reason is that Sharpies have the tendency to fade away over time, unlike paint pens, especially if you have them sign on a plastic item like a Funko Pop or an action figure. Here's a Kermit the Frog figure I got signed by Steve Whitmire. On the top, he signed with a gold Sharpie, and on the bottom, he signed with a green paint pen. And as you can see, the green paint pen stands out way more. It's a lot more visually appealing, and it's gonna last longer than the Sharpie. One more thing to note is that paint pens do have a tendency to leak, so be sure to test one out before you have the celebrity sign with it. And the other big thing is that after they sign your item, let the autograph dry for at least a minute, since if you put it away immediately, it will get smudged. So just be cautious about that. Tip number 10, if a celebrity cancels, just deal with it. Yes, as a matter of fact, not every celebrity listed on a convention's website is guaranteed to show up, as some of them might end up canceling their appearance. It genuinely sucks, especially if it's someone you've been dying to meet. There's a multitude of reasons as to why a celebrity might cancel, whether that's getting hired for a new movie or TV show, a family emergency, or getting sick. In fact, one year when I went to a convention, 3 major celebrities canceled the week of the show due to illness, including Robert Englund, who was the big headlining guest of the show. It may be upsetting when the guest that you want to meet the most cancels, but if it makes you feel any better, do you know who also doesn't want to cancel? The celebrities themselves. I guarantee you not a single celebrity has ever backed out of a convention just because they felt like it. They do genuinely want to meet their fans, but if they're in a situation when it's not appropriate for them to be at a convention, then they have to back out, and you simply just gotta deal with it. Don't reach out to the convention asking for a refund because of a cancellation, because you are not getting your money back over that. Unless you purchased a photo op with said celebrity and they did cancel, then yes, you will get a refund on that, so don't worry. But you can always meet someone else instead instead, or even better, save some money. Because it's not all about meeting celebrities. There's plenty of other awesome things to do at horror conventions. In fact, that brings me nicely over to tip number 11, go for everything. Yes, meeting celebrities is definitely a huge draw for a lot of attendees, but if that's your only goal for attending conventions, then congratulations, you just wasted your convention ticket. Because there are tons of amazing things to see at conventions that are just as worth your time. You can check out the vendor halls and see amazing art pieces put together by incredibly talented people, and you can even purchase some for yourselves and add it to your ever-growing horror collection. You can also do people watching and see all the wildest cosplays people put together. I've seen everything from the likes of Art the Clown, Ghost, and the scariest of them all, furries. And if you want, you can also cosplay at the convention yourselves. Hell, I've done it one time myself too. Conventions usually also have Q&A panels where people from the movie industry get to answer questions from panel members as well as fans themselves, which is another great alternative if you want to interact with a celebrity at a convention but are unable to meet them at their table. One time I got to ask Kiefer Sutherland from the Lost Boys a question, and that was a lot of fun. And if that wasn't enough, some conventions even offer after parties with live music, and they're a great opportunity if you want to kick back from the convention and hear great music. Plenty of talented musicians have played at these events, from a Doors cover band to Corey motherfucking Taylor of Slipknot doing an acoustic set. I mean, hell, Ice Nine Kills has their own horror convention, and they straight up host a whole ass headlining concert every year with opening bands and everything. And that's only a small fraction of things you can do at horror conventions. I've seen a plethora of cool things offered, from the likes of makeup demonstrations, prop displays, costume contests, and even haunted mazes. There is a huge variety of activities to do at horror conventions, so be sure to take advantage of as many of them as you can. Trust me, you will not regret it. One thing you will regret doing at a horror convention, however, is buying food, which brings us to tip number 12, don't buy food at a horror convention. This may seem like a silly thing to bring up, but I do genuinely mean it. Convention food is overpriced, not that good, or even a mix of both. It's usually the same basic crap they serve at a lot of general places like pizza, nachos, chicken tenders, shit like that. One time at a horror convention, I got barbecue chicken mac and cheese, and it was pretty good, I'll admit that. Was it worth $20 though? Yeah, I didn't think so. And it's not just me who will tell you this. Some of the celebrities I've met will even tell you this stuff. True story, when me and my friend met Ron Perlman, he asked us if we tried the food at the convention center. I told him yes, and his response, and I'm not even making this up, was, "The food here is awful and the chef needs to be executed." And when Ron Perlman tells you that, you take that shit to heart. So when it comes to eating food while at the convention, you should either A, go somewhere else and come back, or B, just bring your own damn food from home. Every convention I've been to does not prohibit food or drinks, so you're more than welcome to bring your own stuff instead of buying the overpriced crappy shit conventions offer. And last but not least, the most important tip of them all, tip number 13, have fun. Horror conventions are an amazing getaway for horror fans to take a break from the real world, because they get to celebrate one of their biggest passions and maybe meet tons of other people who have the same interest in horror movies as them. There's so many fun things to do at horror conventions that it practically feels like a horror movie theme park, just, you know, without the rides. But hey, as someone who's too tall for a lot of theme park rides in real life, that's a-okay with me. I've made so many awesome memories at horror conventions over the years, and there's a reason why I still keep going to them. Yes, they are pricey, but it'll be worth every penny once you step foot into a horror convention. Because like I said, there are so many fun things to do at a horror convention, and you will definitely be in awe of a lot of the things you lay your eyes upon. One moment you'll see a really cool goblin cosplay, and then 5 seconds later, oh shit, there's Matthew Lillard. Conventions are an amazing place for fans, collectors, nerds, and all in between to celebrate one of the greatest genres God has ever gifted upon us. So if you're interested in attending a horror convention, whether local to your area or hundreds of miles away, definitely make the effort to go to one, because it's some of the most fun you'll ever have in your life. And if not, well, then thank you for wasting your time listening to me ramble and make it all the way to the end of this video. I greatly appreciate it. But there you have it, my best tips and tricks for attending your first horror convention. If you're planning on attending a horror convention soon, let me know if these tips were able to help you out. And if you've been to a horror convention before, what are some of your favorite memories attending one? I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. But anyways, that's all I got for you guys today. See ya.